Courtroom was packed. Every seat filled. Camera phones hidden in pockets, ready. The air thick with anticipation. Detective Mason smirked from the witness stand, leaning back like he owned the place. "Your Honor, this woman has a history of..." Objection. The voice cut through the room like a blade. Calm. Precise. Deadly. Every head turned. The woman at the defense table stood slowly, her braids cascading over the shoulders of her perfectly tailored navy suit. Her dark eyes locked onto the detective with the kind of focus that makes grown men shrink. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady as a heartbeat, "I'd like to present evidence that will not only exonerate my client, but expose a conspiracy that goes to the highest levels of this police department." The judge's gavel froze mid-air. Detective Mason's smirk vanished. And the courtroom exploded. What happened next would be talked about for years. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back. Back to where it all began. Back to the moment everything changed. Welcome to Love and Revenge Stories, family. What you're about to witness is a story of courage, justice, and a woman who refused to be broken. If you believe in standing up for what's right, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications because this story will leave you speechless. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment. Let's go. 3 months earlier, Atlanta, Georgia. The blue lights flashed in Dr. Ava Mitchell's rearview mirror at exactly 9:47 p.m. She'd been driving home from the hospital, Grady Memorial, where she'd just finished a 14-hour shift in the emergency room. Her scrubs were stained with coffee and the exhaustion of saving 3 lives that night. Her natural hair was pulled back in a pineapple, her face bare of makeup, dark circles under her eyes testament to another brutal week. At 38, Dr. Ava Mitchell was one of the most respected trauma surgeons in Atlanta. Howard University undergrad. Johns Hopkins Medical School. She'd published research on gunshot wound survival rates. She'd been featured in Essence magazine's 40 Under 40. She'd operated on senators, celebrities, and the city's most vulnerable. But right now, at this moment, pulling over on a dark stretch of road in the West End, all that mattered was the color of her skin. She took a deep breath, rolled down her window, and placed both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. Her Apple Watch buzzed. A text from her sister. "On my way home. Love you." She didn't text back. Heavy footsteps approached. The flashlight beam was too bright, deliberately shining directly in her face. "License and registration." The voice was cold, clipped. "No good evening." "No ma'am. Just a command." "Yes, officer," Ava said calmly, slowly reaching for her glove compartment. "I'm going to reach for my registration now. It's in the glove box. Keep your hands where I can see them." The voice was louder now. Aggressive. She froze. "Sir, I need to reach into my glove compartment to get my registration. Would you like me to?" "Step out of the car. Now." Ava's heart hammered. "Officer, may I ask why I'm being pulled over?" "Step out." She recognized the tone. The barely concealed hostility. The itching for confrontation. Slowly, deliberately, she opened her door. Her hands were visible the entire time. The officer, she could see his nameplate now. Officer Jennings, stood back, hand on his weapon, eyes scanning her up and down like she was a threat. Behind him, his partner emerged from the patrol car. Officer Valdez. Younger, nervous, hand also near his gun. "Turn around." Hands on the vehicle. "Officer Jennings, I'm a doctor at Grady Hospital. I just finished my shift. Can you please tell me why?" I said turn around. She did. Face pressed against the cold metal of her Mercedes. Her car, the one she'd worked 16 years to afford. Rough hands patted her down. Invasive. Disrespectful. She bit the inside of her cheek to keep from shaking. "What's this?" Jennings said, pulling her hospital ID badge from her scrubs pocket. "That's my hospital identification. I'm a trauma surgeon." He laughed. Actually laughed. "A doctor, huh? Driving through this neighborhood at this time of night?" "I live in this neighborhood," Ava said, voice still controlled despite the rage building in her chest. "I've lived here for 6 years, uh-huh." He handed the ID to Valdez. "Run it." Valdez hesitated. "Sir, she's a doctor. Maybe we should." "Run it, Valdez." Minutes ticked by. Ava stood there, hands on her car, people walking past, some filming on their phones, others looking away. The humiliation was suffocating. Then Jennings' radio crackled. "Valdez, get over here." The 2 officers stepped away, speaking in low voices. Ava couldn't hear the words, but she saw Jennings glance at her car, then back to his partner. Saw him nod. Saw the decision being made. When they returned, Jennings's expression had changed. Harder. More determined. "Ma'am, we have probable cause to search your vehicle." Ava's blood ran cold. "Probable cause for what?" "Suspected narcotics possession." "What?" The word exploded from her before she could stop it. "I'm a doctor. I just came from the hospital. You can call them right now and verify." "Step aside." They tore through her car, Glove compartment emptied. Seats pushed back. Her medical bag dumped on the ground. Stethoscope in the dirt. Her purse rifled through. Personal items scattered like trash. And then Jennings straightened up, holding a small clear bag. Inside were pills. White pills. Well, 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 he said, turning to her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. What do we have here? Ava's world tilted. That's not mine. Sure it's not. I have never seen that in my life. You planted that. Are you accusing me of planting evidence? Jennings stepped closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. That's a serious allegation, doctor. Her mind raced. The bag. The way he'd pulled it from under the seat. The way Valdez had looked away. Those are not mine, she said again. Slower, clearer. And I will prove it. You can try. Ava Mitchell, you're under arrest for possession of a controlled substance. You have the right to remain silent. The cuffs clicked around her wrists, cold, tight, humiliating. Cameras from bystanders were recording now. She could see the flashes. Tomorrow morning, this would be everywhere. Local doctor arrested for drug possession. Her career, her reputation, her life, gone. As they pushed her into the back of the patrol car, her eyes met Jennings through the window. He winked, and she knew, this was planned. Okay, family, if you're already feeling that anger rising up, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment saying justice, and if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? This story is just getting started, and you need to see what Ava does next. Let's keep going. The holding cell at the Fulton County Jail was everything you'd imagine and worse. Cold concrete, fluorescent lights that buzzed and flickered, the smell of industrial cleaner barely masking something far more unpleasant. Women in various states of distress occupied the benches, some crying, some sleeping, some staring at nothing. Ava sat with her back straight against the wall, still in her scrubs, still processing what had just happened. They'd taken her phone, her watch, her shoes, her dignity. The booking process had been degrading. Fingerprints, mugshot, strip search, questions shouted at her like she was already guilty. How long have you been using? Who's your supplier? You trying to cut a deal? She'd answered each question the same way. I want my lawyer. But the hours dragged on. No phone call. No lawyer. Just waiting. A guard finally appeared at the bars. Mitchell, you may bail. Ava stood, her body aching from the hard bench. Who posted it? Does it matter? Let's go. 30 minutes later, she walked out into the early morning sun, squinting against the light. Standing by a black Audi was her younger sister, Simone Mitchell, 30, a corporate lawyer at one of Atlanta's top firms, wearing a power suit even at 6 a.m. Ava. Simone rushed forward and pulled her into a fierce hug. Ava's composure finally cracked. She buried her face in her sister's shoulder and let out one choked sob before pulling herself together. I didn't do it, Ava whispered. I know, Simone said firmly, and we're going to prove it. But right now, we need to get you home, showered, and prepared. Because this is about to get ugly. She wasn't wrong. By the time they reached Ava's townhouse in Cascade Heights, the news was already spreading. Prominent Atlanta surgeon arrested on drug charges. The headline screamed from every local news site. Her mugshot, tired, devastated, defeated, was plastered everywhere. The comments section was a cesspool. Another doctor hooked on pills. Typical. She looks like a drug user. How many patients did she operate on while high? This is what happens when you let them into positions of power. That last one made Simone's jaw clench. She closed the laptop and turned to Ava, who sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at nothing. The hospital called, Simone said gently. You're on administrative leave pending the outcome of the case. Ava nodded slowly. She'd expected that. The medical board is opening an investigation. Another nod. And Simone hesitated. Channel 5 is camped outside. They want a statement. No, Ava. I said no. Ava's voice was hollow. Whatever I say, they'll twist it. I'm guilty until proven innocent. That's how this works. Simone sat beside her, taking her hand. Then we prove you're innocent. We fight. How? Ava finally looked at her sister. And for the first time, Simone saw something she'd never seen in Ava's eyes before. Defeat. They planted drugs in my car, Simone. I have no proof. It's my word against two cops. Who's going to believe me? I believe you. A new voice cut through the room. Both women turned. Standing in the doorway, let in by Simone's key, was Jordan Hayes, 38, tall, dark-skinned, locks tied back, wearing jeans and a Howard University sweatshirt. But it was the look in her eyes, fierce, determined, unshakable, that commanded attention. Ava stood slowly. What are you doing here? Jordan Hayes, civil rights attorney, activist, the lawyer who'd taken on police departments, corporations, and the city itself, walked into the room with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a fight she cared about. I'm here, Jordan said, setting her leather bag down on the coffee table, because I heard what happened. And because I know exactly who Officers Jennings and Valdez are. She locked eyes with Ava. And Dr. Mitchell, you're not fighting this alone. If Jordan Hayes just gave you chills, go ahead and smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment with Jordan if you're ready to see her take these corrupt cops down. We're about to dive deep into this fight, family. Stay with me. Jordan spread crime scene photos, police reports, and legal documents across Ava's dining room table like a general planning a war. Okay, Jordan began, pacing as she spoke. She always thought better when moving. Let's start with what we know. Officer Mark Jennings, 34, 8 years on the force. Officer Luis Valdez, 26, 2 years. Both assigned to Zone 4, covering the West End and surrounding neighborhoods. Why would they target me? Ava asked, her voice stronger now. Having Jordan here changed something. Made it feel less like drowning and more like fighting. That's what we're going to find out. But first, Jordan pulled out her laptop. Let me show you something. She turned the screen toward Ava and Simone. It showed a news article from 2 years ago. Officer Mark Jennings awarded commendation for record drug arrests. Jennings has built his career on drug busts, Jordan explained. 47 arrests in the last 2 years alone. That's almost unheard of. Most officers don't see that many drug arrests in 5 years. Simone leaned forward. That's statistically improbable. Exactly. Jordan pulled up another file. Now look at this. Of those 47 arrests, 39 were black defendants. 31 were in low-income neighborhoods. And here's the kicker. 12 cases were dismissed due to lack of evidence or procedural errors. Ava's eyes widened. He's planting evidence. That's my theory. But proving it? Jordan sighed. That's the hard part. These cases were dismissed quietly. No investigations. No accountability. The defendants were just happy to walk free. So what do we do? Simone asked. Jordan smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It was predatory. We do what I do best. We investigate. We dig. We find every single person Jennings has ever arrested, and we build a pattern. Because one case of planted evidence is your word against his. But 10? 20? She snapped her laptop shut. That's a conspiracy. The next 3 weeks were a blur of activity. Jordan worked like a woman possessed. She tracked down former defendants, many of whom were terrified to speak. She filed FOIA requests for body cam footage, dash cam videos, and arrest records. She hired a private investigator, a former cop named Marcus Webb who'd left the force after witnessing corruption he couldn't stomach. Ava, meanwhile, was trapped in a different kind of prison. She couldn't work, couldn't go to the hospital, couldn't even go to the grocery store without someone recognizing her, whispering, taking pictures. Her colleagues stopped calling. Friends became distant. Even her church family seemed unsure how to approach her. One Sunday, she tried to attend service at Ebenezer Baptist. She made it 3 minutes before the stairs became too much. She left during the opening hymn, tears streaming down her face as she sat in her car. The isolation was suffocating. But every night, Jordan would call. We're getting closer, Ava. I promise. And slowly, piece by piece, the puzzle came together. Marcus Webb hit gold 2 weeks before the trial. He'd been surveilling Jennings off-duty, following him to bars, restaurants, his home. And one night, Webb watched as Jennings met with someone in a parking garage downtown. The meeting lasted less than 5 minutes. An envelope changed hands. Then both men left. Webb snapped photos of everything. The next morning, he showed up at Jordan's office, dropping a manila folder on her desk with a grim expression. You're going to want to see this. Jordan opened it. Inside were photos of Officer Jennings meeting with Assistant District Attorney Christopher Wade, the same ADA prosecuting Ava's case. Are you kidding me? Jordan breathed. It gets better. Webb pulled out another photo. That envelope? I managed to track Wade after. He went straight to the bank, deposited $5,000 in cash. Jordan's eyes went cold. They're buying convictions. That's my guess. Jennings plants the evidence, makes the arrest, gets his commendation. Wade prosecutes aggressively, gets his conviction rate up. Both of them advance their careers. And the defendants, mostly poor, mostly black, mostly without resources to fight back, take the fall. Until now, Jordan said softly. She looked up at Webb. Can you testify to this? Already planning on it. Jordan allowed herself a small, dangerous smile. Then let's go to war. Y'all, are you seeing this corruption? If this is making your blood boil, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because this courtroom showdown is about to be legendary. Comment expose them if you're ready to see justice served. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. The Fulton County Courthouse stood imposing against the Atlanta skyline, all stone and glass and the weight of justice, real or imagined. Media trucks lined the street. Reporters jockeyed for position. This case had become a spectacle. Not because of the charges, drug possession was sadly common, but because of who was being charged. Prominent black doctor versus decorated police officer. The optics were impossible to ignore. Ava walked up the courthouse steps flanked by Jordan and Simone, her head held high despite the shouted questions. "Dr. Mitchell, are you guilty? Did you have a drug problem? Do you have a statement?" Jordan raised her hand. "My client maintains her innocence and looks forward to presenting the truth in court. That's all." They pushed through the doors into the cool, sterile interior. The courtroom was packed, every seat taken. Ava recognized faces, colleagues from the hospital, fewer than she'd hoped, members of her church, activists from the community, and reporters. So many reporters. At the prosecution table sat ADA Christopher Wade, 45, white, silver hair, expensive suit, and the kind of confidence that came from a 94% conviction rate. Next to him sat Officer Jennings in his dress blues, chest full of commendations, looking every bit the hero. Ava's stomach turned. "All rise." The Honorable Judge Patricia Thompson presiding. Judge Patricia Thompson, 62, black, with silver locks and sharp eyes that had seen every trick in the book, entered and took her seat. "Please be seated. We're here today for the trial of the state of Georgia versus Dr. Ava Mitchell. The defendant is charged with possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. Mr. Wade, your opening statement." Ada Wade stood, buttoning his suit jacket, and approached the jury with the easy confidence of a man who'd done this 1,000 times. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," he began, his voice smooth as silk. "This case is simple. On the night of March 15th, Dr. Ava Mitchell was pulled over for a routine traffic stop. During that stop, officers discovered illegal narcotics in her vehicle, specifically, 60 pills of hydrocodone, a Schedule II controlled substance. Now, the defense will try to complicate this. They'll talk about Dr. Mitchell's impressive resume, her charitable work, her standing in the community." He paused, "but none of that changes the fact that she had illegal drugs in her car. The evidence is clear. The law is clear. And your verdict should be clear. Guilty." He sat down. Jordan stood slowly, taking her time. She didn't rush to the jury. Instead, she stood at the defense table for a moment, letting the silence build, letting every eye in the courtroom focus on her. Then she spoke. "The prosecutor is right about one thing." Her voice was quiet but carried through the entire room. "This case is simple." Simple. She walked toward the jury, because it's not about drugs. It's not about traffic stops. It's about power. It's about corruption. And it's about two police officers who thought they could destroy an innocent woman's life and get away with it. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Judge Thompson's gavel cracked once. Jordan continued. "Dr. Ava Mitchell is not on trial today because she committed a crime. She's on trial because Officer Mark Jennings needed another arrest to pad his statistics, because ADA Wade needed another conviction to boost his career, and because they assumed, that a black woman, even a successful one, even a doctor, wouldn't have the resources or the courage to fight back." She turned to face Jennings. He met her stare with a smirk. They were wrong. Jordan walked back to the defense table. "Ladies and gentlemen, by the end of this trial, you will see evidence of a pattern of false arrests. You will hear testimony from other victims. You will see proof of corruption that goes to the highest levels of law enforcement. And you will be faced with a choice. Do you uphold justice, or do you become complicit in a system designed to destroy innocent lives?" She sat down. The courtroom was electric. Judge Thompson leaned forward. "Mr. Wade, call your first witness." The state calls Officer Mark Jennings. Subscribe right now if you want to see Jordan dismantle this corrupt cop's testimony. Drop a "Go Jordan" in the comments. This is about to get intense. Stay with me, family. Officer Jennings took the stand with the swagger of a man who'd done this dozens of times before. Hand on the Bible, oath sworn, sitting back in the chair like he owned it. Ada Wade walked him through the arrest with precision. The traffic stop, the suspicious behavior, the search, the discovery of the drugs, all delivered with the rehearsed polish of a well-practiced story. "Officer Jennings," Wade asked, "did you at any time plant evidence in Dr. Mitchell's vehicle?" "Absolutely not." "Did you have any reason to target Dr. Mitchell specifically?" "No, sir. This was a routine traffic stop that revealed criminal activity." "Thank you, officer. No further questions." Wade sat down, satisfied. Judge Thompson turned to Jordan. "Ms. Hayes, your witness." Jordan stood slowly. She picked up a legal pad but didn't look at it. Instead, she focused entirely on Jennings. "Officer Jennings," she began, her voice conversational, almost friendly. "How long have you been with the Atlanta Police Department?" 8 years. "And in those 8 years, how many drug-related arrests have you made?" He shrugged. "I don't keep count." "Well, I do." Jordan pulled out a document. "According to records I obtained through FOIA requests, you've made 47 drug-related arrests in the past 2 years alone. Does that sound correct? If you say so, that's almost 2 arrests per month. Would you say you're particularly skilled at identifying drug possession?" Wade stood. "Objection. Your Honor, I'm establishing the witness's pattern of behavior. I'll allow it. Continue, Ms. Hayes. Jordan smiled. Officer Jennings, of those 47 arrests, how many resulted in convictions? Jennings shifted slightly. I don't have that number. I do. 23. That's a 49% conviction rate. Nearly half of your arrests resulted in dismissed charges or acquittals. Doesn't that seem unusual? Sometimes cases don't go the way we hope. That's not my fault. Of course not. Jordan circled the witness stand slowly. Now, on the night you pulled over Dr. Mitchell, you stated that you had probable cause to search her vehicle. What was that probable cause? She was acting nervous, suspicious. She was acting nervous, Jordan repeated. Dr. Mitchell, who had just finished a 14-hour shift saving lives, was nervous when armed officers pulled her over at night on a dark street. And you found that suspicious? Yes. Did you run her license plate before pulling her over? Yes. And what did that search reveal? No warrants. No violations. So you pulled over a woman with a clean record, in a neighborhood where she lives, and you determined she was suspicious because she was nervous. I have instincts. I've been doing this a long time. Jordan stopped pacing. Officer Jennings, were you wearing a body camera during this arrest? A flicker of something crossed his face. Yes. And where is that footage? Wade stood quickly. Your Honor, the body camera malfunctioned during the arrest. The footage was corrupted. Jordan turned to the judge. How convenient. Your Honor, this is the third case I've found where Officer Jennings's body camera malfunctioned during a drug arrest. I have documentation. Objection. Overruled. Ms. Hayes, you'll have an opportunity to present that evidence later. Continue your cross-examination. Jordan turned back to Jennings. Officer, you testified that you found the drugs under the driver's seat. Is that correct? Yes. And you were alone in the vehicle when you found them? His jaw tightened. Officer Valdez was nearby. But he didn't find the drugs. You did? Yes. Convenient. Jordan pulled out another document. Officer Jennings, are you familiar with the case of State versus Marcus Thompson? I don't recall. Let me refresh your memory. March 2023. You arrested Mr. Thompson for drug possession. Found cocaine in his vehicle during a traffic stop. Mr. Thompson maintained his innocence. The case was dismissed 3 months later due to procedural errors. Ring a bell? Vaguely. How about State versus Jennifer Washington? May 2023. Drug possession. Found pills in her vehicle. Case dismissed. I arrest a lot of people, clearly. Jordan's voice hardened. How about State versus David Lee? State versus Keisha Anderson? State versus Terrence Mills? Should I keep going? Jennings's face was reddening. I don't know what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, officer. I'm stating it directly. You have a pattern of arresting black individuals for drug possession, claiming to find drugs in their vehicles, and then watching those cases fall apart. Because the drugs were never there in the first place. That's a lie. Is it? Jordan held up a stack of files. I have 12 cases here, Officer Jennings. 12 people whose lives you disrupted. Some lost their jobs. Some lost custody of their children. All of them were innocent. And all of them were too afraid, too poor, or too exhausted to fight back. She stepped closer to the witness stand. But Dr. Mitchell isn't. The courtroom was dead silent. No further questions, Your Honor. Yes. Comment Jordan if that gave you life. Hit that subscribe button because this trial is about to explode. Don't you dare go anywhere. Let's keep going. The next day's testimony brought Officer Valdez to the stand. The younger officer looked visibly uncomfortable as Ada Wade led him through his version of events, a version that matched Jennings word for word. Too perfect. Too practiced. When Jordan stood for cross-examination, Valdez's Adam's apple bobbed nervously. Officer Valdez, Jordan began gently, how long have you been with the Atlanta Police Department? 2 years. And Officer Jennings is your training officer? For my first year. So you look up to him? Respect him? Yes, ma'am. And you want to have a successful career like his? Valdez hesitated. Yes. Jordan walked closer. Officer Valdez, on the night of Dr. Mitchell's arrest, did you personally see Officer Jennings find the drugs in her vehicle? I was securing the perimeter. That's a no. Did you see him find the drugs? No, ma'am. Did you see the drugs before they were in the evidence bag? No. So you have no direct knowledge of where those drugs came from? Valdez looked at Ada Wade, who gave the slightest shake of his head. Officer Valdez, Jordan pressed. Did Officer Jennings ever tell you to lie in your report? Objection. Wade shot to his feet, withdrawn. Jordan pivoted. Officer Valdez, are you afraid of Officer Jennings? The young man's eyes widened. No. Are you afraid of what might happen to your career if you tell the truth? Valdez's hands gripped the arms of the witness chair. Officer Valdez, Judge Thompson interjected, you're under oath. Answer the question. A long, excruciating silence. Then, barely audible. Yes. The courtroom erupted. Judge Thompson's gavel came down hard. Order! Order in this court. Jordan didn't smile, but her eyes gleamed. No further questions. The prosecution rested. Now it was Jordan's turn. The defense calls Marcus Webb. The former detective took the stand, his presence commanding immediate attention. He'd been a cop for 15 years before leaving the force. He had credibility. Jordan handed him a photo. Mr. Webb, can you identify the people in this photograph? That's Officer Mark Jennings and ADA Christopher Wade. I took this photo 3 weeks ago in a downtown parking garage. And what are they doing? Exchanging an envelope. Did you determine the contents of that envelope? I followed ADA Wade to a bank immediately after. He deposited $5,000 in cash. The courtroom exploded again. Wade jumped to his feet, his face red. Your Honor, this is outrageous. This is a baseless accusation. Is it? Jordan turned to face him directly. Mr. Webb is prepared to testify about multiple meetings between you and Officer Jennings. Multiple cash deposits. And multiple cases where you aggressively prosecuted defendants arrested by Jennings, even when the evidence was questionable. Judge Thompson leaned forward. Mr. Wade, sit down. Ms. Hayes, continue. Your Honor, Jordan said, I'd like to call my next witness. Someone who can speak to Officer Jennings' pattern of behavior. Proceed. The defense calls Keisha Anderson. A young black woman, maybe 25, walked to the stand. She was nervous, clutching her purse like a lifeline. Jordan approached her gently. Ms. Anderson, can you tell the court what happened to you on August 12, 2023? Keisha took a shaky breath. I was pulled over by Officer Jennings. He said I ran a stop sign. He searched my car and said he found drugs, but I swear on everything, I've never used drugs in my life. I've never even seen what he said he found. What happened to your case? It was dismissed after 3 months, but by then, her voice cracked. I'd lost my job. I'd lost custody of my daughter. My whole life fell apart. Tears streamed down her face. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. No further questions. One by one, Jordan brought them forward. Victims of Jennings's manufactured arrests, each story more damning than the last. Marcus Thompson, who'd spent 2 months in jail before his case was dismissed. Jennifer Washington, who'd been fired from her teaching job. David Lee, who'd lost his apartment and became homeless. 7 witnesses. 7 lives destroyed. 7 instances of planted evidence. By the time Jordan rested her case, the jury looked shaken. The gallery was in tears. And Officer Jennings sat stone-faced, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Ada Wade had gone pale. Judge Thompson called for a recess. Family, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? This is the most important part. Hit that button, drop a justice in the comments, and get ready because the verdict is coming and you don't want to miss it. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. 6 hours that felt like 6 years. Ava sat in Jordan's office, unable to eat, unable to think. Simone held her hand. Jordan paced, reviewing notes, preparing for every possible outcome. When the call finally came, the jury has reached a verdict. Ava's legs almost gave out. They walked back into that courtroom together. The gallery was even more packed than before. News had spread. This wasn't just about Ava anymore. This was about every black person who'd ever been targeted. Every person who'd ever been powerless against a corrupt system. The jury filed in. 12 faces. Unreadable. Judge Thompson took her seat. Has the jury reached a verdict? The forewoman stood, a middle-aged black woman with kind eyes. We have, Your Honor. What say you? In the case of the state of Georgia versus Dr. Ava Mitchell, on the charge of possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute, we the jury find the defendant. Time stopped. Ava's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Not guilty. The courtroom erupted. To cheers, tears, applause. Reporters scrambling for their phones. People in the gallery hugging strangers. Ava collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Simone wrapped her arms around her sister, crying too. Jordan stood still for a moment, letting the weight of it wash over her, then squeezed Ava's shoulder. But Jordan wasn't done. She stood. Your Honor, I have a motion. The gavel came down. Order. Order. Ms. Hayes, you may proceed. Your Honor, based on the testimony and evidence presented in this trial, I'm formally requesting that the District Attorney's Office investigate ADA Christopher Wade for prosecutorial misconduct, and that the Atlanta Police Department open an internal affairs investigation into Officer Mark Jennings and any other officers involved in this pattern of false arrests. Judge Thompson's eyes were steel. Mr. Wade approached the bench. Wade walked forward, his confidence shattered. Mr. Wade, Judge Thompson said, her voice low but carrying through the microphone, I have been on this bench for 17 years. I have seen a lot of things, but never have I seen evidence of such blatant corruption in my courtroom. I am referring this matter to the State Bar and to the FBI. You are hereby removed from this case, and I strongly suggest you retain counsel. Wade's face went ashen. She turned to Jennings. "Officer Jennings, you are hereby ordered to surrender your badge and weapon pending a full investigation. Bailiff, escort him out." Jennings stood, rage contorting his features. "This is a witch hunt. This is... Remove him. Now." As Jennings was led out in handcuffs, poetic justice, the courtroom erupted again. But this time, it wasn't just celebration. It was vindication. 6 months after the trial, Ava stood at a podium in the Fellowship Hall of Ebenezer Baptist Church. The room was packed, standing room only. Community members, activists, formerly incarcerated people, families who'd been torn apart by false arrests. All of them there for the launch of the Mitchell-Hayes Justice Initiative, a legal defense fund and advocacy organization dedicated to fighting police corruption and supporting victims of false arrests. Ava wore a navy dress, her locks styled in an elegant updo, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "When I was arrested," she began, "I thought my life was over. I thought I'd lose everything. My career, my reputation, my freedom. I thought the system was too big, too powerful, too corrupt to fight." She paused, looking out at the faces. "I was wrong. Not because the system isn't corrupt, it is. Not because the fight isn't hard, it is. But because I wasn't alone. My sister Simone never stopped believing in me. Attorney Jordan Hayes never stopped fighting for me. And all of you," her voice cracked slightly, "all of you showed up. You protested. You donated. You shared my story. You refused to let them bury me." Applause filled the room. "So today, we're launching this initiative not just for me, but for every person who's been targeted, every person who's been silenced, every person who's been told they don't matter. Because you do matter. Your life matters. Your story matters. And we're going to fight for you the way people fought for me." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Jordan stood at the side of the room, watching with pride. Simone sat in the front row, tears streaming down her face. And in the back, quietly observing, was Officer Luis Valdez, no longer in uniform. He'd resigned from the force and was now working with a police reform organization, using his experience to train officers on ethical conduct. He caught Ava's eye and gave her a small nod of respect. She nodded back. After the event, as people mingled and celebrated, Ava stepped outside for air. The Atlanta evening was warm, the sun setting in shades of orange and purple. Jordan found her there. "You did good today," Jordan said, standing beside her. "We did good," Ava corrected. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset. "You know what the best part is?" Ava said after a moment. "What's that?" "I'm not scared anymore. For so long, I was terrified, of the system, of the police, of what people thought of me. But now," she smiled, "now I know who I am. And I know what I'm capable of. They tried to break me, Jordan. They tried to destroy everything I'd built. But they couldn't." "No," Ava said, her voice strong and clear. "They couldn't, because I'm still here. I'm still standing. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure no one else has to fight this battle alone." Jordan put her arm around Ava's shoulders. "Then I guess we've got work to do. A lot of work. Good thing we're not afraid of hard work." They stood there as the sun dipped below the horizon. Two warriors who'd won a battle but knew the war was far from over. But they were ready. They were strong. And they were not alone. 1 year later. The headline on the Atlanta Journal-Constitution read, "Former Officer Mark Jennings sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for civil rights violations." Below it, a smaller story. Mitchell-Hayes Justice Initiative celebrates 50th exoneration. Ava read both articles on her phone while sipping coffee in her office at Grady Memorial. She was back in the OR full-time, but she also served as the medical director for the Justice Initiative, providing healthcare advocacy for formerly incarcerated people. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. "We did it. Jennings is going where he belongs. How does it feel?" Ava typed back, "Like the beginning, not the end. So many more to save." "Then let's get to work." Ava smiled, set down her phone, and picked up the file for her next surgery. A young man. Gunshot wound. Fighting for his life. She scrubbed in, focused her mind, and did what she did best. She saved lives. Because that's who Dr. Ava Mitchell was. Not a victim. Not a survivor. A warrior. And she was just getting started. Final message. The end. Family, thank you for taking this journey with us. Dr. Ava Mitchell's story is a reminder that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing up even when you're terrified. It's fighting back even when the system seems unbeatable. It's refusing to let corrupt people destroy your life. If this story touched your heart, I need you to do 3 things right now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you never miss our powerful stories. Like this video to help us reach more people who need to hear messages like this. Share this video with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their fight. Drop a comment below and tell us, what moment hit you the hardest? Have you or someone you know experienced injustice like this? What lesson are you taking from Ava's story? We drop inspiring, powerful stories every single week right here on Love and Revenge Stories. Stories about courage, justice, faith, and the strength of the human spirit. Here's what's coming next week. A single father works 3 jobs to provide for his daughter. When she gets sick and he can't afford treatment, a stranger's act of kindness changes everything. But the twist? That stranger had his own reason for helping. You do not want to miss it. Until then, remember, your voice matters, your story matters, and when you stand up for what's right, you never stand alone. Stay blessed, family. Keep fighting, keep believing, keep standing. We'll see you in the next story.